Welcome, beautiful people, to Season 2, Episode 2 of Jahmi Roc's Jottings, this seriously silly space for intentional musicology, sonic joy, and the kind of reggae insight that'll keep your mind rocking and your thoughts swaying. I'm your host, Jahmi Roc, aka Racquel Bernard. Let's jam our way into this unique episode where I am interviewed by a special guest.
Please state your name and the spelling of your name.
Jahmi Roc. Jahmiroc.
Okay, interesting. Could you explain to me the meaning of your name?
Yeah, sure. So, a friend of mine gave me that name back in 2020 when I was going through a lot. And he said it's to bring together the fact that I'm Jamaican, the fact that I love God, and the fact that I know Spanish. And so for him, it was Jah, as in God, me, like my, and rock, like a rock, but also rock for Raquel. Um, so Ja is my rock, Jahmi Roc, and that's where that came from.
Wow, very interesting,
Hmm.
that you're creative and you're creative with your name as well.
Hmm.
That is good. I feel like it's very important for people to express creativity in as much ways they can.
Hmm. Absolutely. And for our listeners, I think you should also say your name.
My name is Dale Until 28 AM Virgo, also known as Dale Dizzle Virgo.
Nice.
I am a music producer, an
Mhm.
audio engineer, entrepreneur. Yeah, my name is just, that's a long story. That's a whole podcast.
Check out his podcast over there is it also yes, it is on Spotify. Is it on other streaming
It's
platforms?
everywhere podcasts are available.
Okay, excellent. And the name of it?
It's called the Upful Vibes Podcast.
Awesome.
Hmm.
Check it out, y'all. I've dipped into a few episodes myself. I enjoyed it. So I think it's a good time.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it more, more current and consistent. So look up. So I got another question for you, right?
Hmm.
So we're running through the epistemologies, intersectional resistance through Black women's reggae music. So how do you think you and other Black women combat injustice? That is racism, sexism, classism through your music or their music.
Hmm. I think that the words of our songs and the messages in our songs is one of the biggest ways that we combat these injustices. And for me, when I was studying in Jamaica, I was at UWI and I was looking at the music of Peter Tosh. And one of the theories that we talked about was this idea of illocutionary force. It's like the acting force of the words that you say, like parole, like the word as a weapon, like a literal weapon. And so I remember saying that, Peter Tosh, one of his quotes was that um if I was not a musician, I would be a bumbleclot revolutionary. I'd be killing bumbleclot wicked every single day. And he had this guitar that was shaped as a gun, but for me it was showing that the music itself is a weapon. And I think of theorists who talk about the weapons of the weak. So those weapons that people use who don't have a lot of like military power behind them, and music can be one of those weapons. And I think that Black women in particular make songs like how Judy Mowatt made Black Woman, or how Marcia Griffiths and Lady G made Woman, and a number of others who create these songs like Itana, uh, Jamaican Woman. The words of those songs are chanting down Babylon systems, including sexism. And for me, I think of the songs that I've made, like Chant Dem Down, where I'm specifically lifting up women in that song. Um, and like fighting against those oppressive systems that hold us back.
Very good answer.
Thanks.
Like you answered every little, sub question that was in my head
Hmm.
to ask you. You just knocked it out. But, could you give me some more examples of, how other women, because it's very profound and admirable the way that you have pitched it to me just a while
Hmm.
ago. I mean, and it's so thoughtful and, it makes sense. I
Hmm.
love what you're saying.
Hmm.
But my question right here is, you know, except for like, the Jada Moats and so on, and that is just one. Has is there a representation or of this resistance enough in the music industry? On the standpoint of Black women? I mean, I know you
Mm.
mentioned some options, but is it enough? It just felt like, the ratio between your reference, was it Garnet Silk?
Earlier, yeah, we were
Your
talking about
reference
that.
Garnet Silk, but can we say that, is there a profound movement or a viable movement or a message that is strong enough of women, you know, um, providing a resistive voice, to combat, I mean, and these are different things, racism, sexism, classism, because in my
Hmm.
opinion, I find that women generally shy away or not given the opportunity. But, like, for example, Queen Africa
Hmm.
and Etana,
Yeah,
those are two very important women that would say, are probably a voice. More
yeah,
so, Queen Africa,
yeah,
when she came out and she released That It Don't Touch Me There and a
yeah.
couple other songs that was very thought-provoking and it really, shook up a generation of people. But do you know of any other examples or other women, or do you think that it's not enough and something that needs to be more prevalent?
So that's a good question. I feel like there are more women than people assume because especially in a genre like reggae, it's very male dominated in certain ways. Um, I remember Judy Maud would say that in the days of like ska and rocksteady,
Hmm.
there wasn't really a male domination. Because the music, there was no money really to be made in the music. But once the money could be made, that's when like the men swooped in and started dominating the industry, had like power over the radio and things like that, power over sound systems
Hmm.
and those things. I feel like there are women who do this if you're looking for them and if you're looking for these questions. Like even now, I feel like someone like Kilissa has Lioness Order, and that's a big tune that is very much like resisting Babylonian systems in a very specific way. There's Janine who has the greatest threat to the status quo is a spiritual woman, right?
Hmm.
And so they are there if you look for them, and that's part of what my dissertation does is highlight what they're doing.
Lila Ike,
Of course, Lila Iké.
uh,
Yes.
Spice.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, Spice.
Can't escape them.
So
Yeah.
now we're thinking about it. There are actual women that
Yeah,
have
man.
you know, um, been really campaigning,
Hmm.
on that cause. But yeah, it's good to mention Lila Ike and Spice. They have you know, in their music careers and outside their music careers been speaking of. We're thinking about coffee though.
Coffee comes up in my work, and I feel like a song like Blazing, for instance, is one of those like chanting down Babylon type of songs.
Yeah, but Blazing is just like, I don't feel like it's really just effectively going at that. It's just a song, just singing a vibe and just
Have you listened to the lyrics of that
yeah,
song?
yeah, but it's regular, Rastaman thing. Blazing. All right, cool. So all right, fine. Coffee. Was I mean Kelisa is cool, I mean obviously Kelisa has, a lot of great songs, and she's
Hmm.
surrounded by, very influential people like
Hmm.
Nandi is her
Hmm.
brother,
Yeah.
and Chronix is her baby father. I don't know if they're married yet.
Okay.
So yeah, that's very interesting. Was all right, let's look at other women. Sorry to drag this up, we're just
You're
digging
good.
deep into this. Shensia.
Cynthia, uh-huh.
Has she been a voice? I mean, I feel like Shensia is more like a woman empowerment kind of voice.
I think so too. But I know less of Shensia's work, but thanks to folks like you, she does come up in the project in certain ways. And a book that I read by Professor Donna Hope
Hmm.
talks about the gyal theme in dancehall and
Hmm.
also talks about this idea of erotic subversion. So the ways that women, everyday women, some in some respects, are their posturing, their sexual posturing through their clothing, through their lyrics, through their dance is a way that is actually empowering and subverting restrictive and sexist domination from their lives. So someone like Shensia or Spice, right, coming out and like dancing provocatively and things like that. There it's though it may seem to be objectification from the male sight or oversight, it's actually an empowering move for them because they are getting their own money for for performing and doing their thing, and they're not allowing like strict moral codes to restrict them into certain behaviors. So they talk about erotic subversion as this kind of combating sexism. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like you can definitely find that in their work.
Yeah, definitely. And while you mentioned that, we can have special mention to Lady Saw.
Hmm.
I mean, the raunchiness is a tool.
Yes.
Patra
Yes. Can't
was.
can't 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 mention it without it. Pacha comes up in the Dancehall Queen erotic subversion book.
Hmm. And people like, on the gospel side of things, you have people like Chevelle Franklin,
Hmm.
Carlin Davis,
Okay, yeah.
who originally started in dancehall but went over to the reggae gospel industry, and they're doing it through ministry now.
Hmm.
So but they have a voice still and they have an influence.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, what else is there? You know, yeah, Spice is now queen of dancehall. What do you think about that?
I think you can't mess with the undisputed queen. I did see though that Shensia did get that award for most it was the Caribbean
Shansi
Music
is not
Awards.
the queen.
No, she got an award.
Mhm.
Listen, man, you
All
know,
right, all
and
right, all right. Let's do so. Let's do so.
the Caribbean Music Awards, she got Best Female Dancehall Artist of the Year.
Hmm.
Yeah, so she got a big heralded for that. But I feel like Spice is definitely queen of the dancehall. I mean, I feel like she would point out that there are a lot of other pioneers that do the damn thing, but she,
I think she deserves it
yeah,
because
I think she deserves it
her,
too.
her, her, she is, in my opinion, a symbol of, resistance and combating injustice.
Yeah,
Especially, I remember she released a couple of songs, I think during the
yeah,
pandemic, that
yes,
was combating like, racism.
yes, exactly.
And I'm sure
Colorism.
as a black and colorism, but I think her thing was based on racism, mainly. And as a black woman who is also very international, very outspoken,
Yeah,
she had that platform to like speak on it and empower other people.
right.
So that was great. I really do like that with Spice. Shensia, yeah, she doing her thing. She empowered the girl.
Yeah.
Another person who's been really good, under the radar is Jada Kingdom.
Jada Kingdom, okay.
you know, because Jada Kingdom, she brought a new style in dancehall, but also she has so many fans,
Mm,
and so many people that look up to her, But
Hmm.
she's a little rebel though,
Uh-huh.
She's a rebel, like she's so outspoken,
Yeah.
she cuss you red, and everything. But like her personal, I have seen a lot of women who like her, they start dressing like her. They start,
Hmm.
this kebab thing or go on
Uh-huh.
dance hall.
Uh-huh.
And but she has a couple of songs that, really, her lyrical content, is very, honest
Yeah.
and straightforward, but it also empowers women to it empower a lot of women to be honest about who they are
Yeah.
instead of being in a box.
Yeah.
So I think that covers what the sexism part of it.
Hmm. Hmm. I agree.
Classism now. Classism is something that is more prevalent in Jamaica.
Yes, absolutely.
But
Which is
class
why I had to bring it into the research because a project talking specifically about Jamaican reggae that does not look at classism is missing a
for
huge element.
the person to bring up with the classism part of it is Spice. Spice came from Portmore.
Hmm.
Portmore, which is like a middle class, neighborhood, Waterford, Gregor Park, in Portmore. And, for her to be, on a big international stage with love and hip hop, and also
Hmm.
doing all the music that she's doing and
Yeah.
consistently delivering, she works hard,
Yeah.
and she has combated that classism situation because she's in spaces now
Yeah.
in uptown Jamaica that,
Hmm.
you would expect her.
Yeah.
And she has also raised the bar for herself.
Hmm.
So I think that's one way, she has provided resistance. I have other people like Cecile,
Hmm.
who's been working constantly,
Hmm. Hmm.
and so on. Yeah. All right. So the next question. Are there any other forms of injustice do you feel your artistry addresses?
Yeah, so for me, I definitely feel like I am like focused on other types of systems of oppression, which might put me at odds with some Jamaicans. So in my song Chant Dem Down, I specifically say lifting up femme, trans, and women leaders because for
Bullet.
centuries we see you trying to delete us, right?
Yeah, that would definitely have like you come into conflict with a lot of Jamaicans.
Yes,
Because
of
I mean
course.
Jamaica is mainly very theocratic,
Yes, yes, they are.
and culturally so, very um
Yeah, so to finish answering your question, like I talk about transphobia when I say femme, that's FEMME, which is like female presenting, like or cisgendered female who is also bisexual or pansexual or etc. So I'm talking about queer identities in my music. And I find that very important to me because one of the formative experiences for me was the Beyond Homophobia centering LGBT Caribbean experiences that I did back in, I believe it was 2017. And that was a time for me to like come together with allies as well as other queer Jamaicans and talk about all of the issues that were central to the Caribbean, to Jamaica. And it was, it was very interesting to be in that space. And the work that came out of that was really awesome. Um, when we, um, when I think about my own music, I think about also like mental health stuff. So any kind of stigma towards mental health is also something that I feel like my artistry addresses. I also address like any systems that go against survivors of domestic abuse, whether that's physical or that's emotional and mental abuse. Um, and I tend to leave no stone unturned in my music when it comes to oppression. Like I talk about fat phobia in my music, you know, when I say that my grandmother was a founder, blessing folks all around her, but black leaders still swallowed anti-black shit. Looking in the mirror, she don't like all that fat flesh. But I'm gonna be the one to attest a loved body is best, so let it go. And we on the go. So any like if it's an injustice, if it's a discrimination, I'm talking about it in my music.
Well, I like that. I like that, you know? Why do you decide to use chest voice, head voice, or falsetto in your original songs? Why and when do you decide?
Why and when? So it depends for me, right? So I like to freestyle when I'm creating. And so it's part of it is this natural, like how it comes out, right? Um, but even on a tune that we are working on right now, um, I sing you, which is kind of like a mixed voice. It's not quite a fully head voice or it's not falsetto, you know what I mean? And then it goes back into the chest voice. Got me in this moment. And it's more present. But it's
But aren't you using like a belly voice, breathing from your belly for that? Are
that
you doing
part of it.
diaphragm like with a you know, like you're taking it from the diaphragm, right?
Absolutely. So so for head voice, chest voice, all those things, it's all diaphragmatic breathing that you need in order to deliver those. But when they say chest voice, head voice, it's more of a distinction of like the resonance of the sound. So does it resonate more in the head region or in the chest region? And it's like some people get real specific about where the larynx I always say that wrong. Well, how do you say that word? The larynx.
Yeah, that big.
You know what I'm
Yeah, I
saying.
know what you said.
You know
That
what I'm
big.
saying. I can write it, but I can't say it. The position of that. Some people
Mhm.
get like, is it in the lower position or if it's in the raised position? And there's like breaks in your voice depending on like your register, where you're alto, soprano, etc., where like that transition happens. So like when voice teachers are taking you through things and then there's like a break, like a crack, it's like where that chest voice is transitioning over to the head voice for you to successfully execute a song. You look like you're about to sing.
Well, I was just trying to test out, like, how to. I was just trying to test out using my chest while my throat. But I can give you a standpoint from a producer standpoint, right?
Hmm.
When I'm producing singers, and I do ask singers to try a bunch of things.
Yeah,
Why do I choose like chest voice, belly voice? Sometimes it's different emotion you get from the
exactly.
different approaches. Like sometimes if you want to get like vocal clarity and emotion a certain way,
Hmm.
sometimes you have to use, diaphragm and mix it up with falsetto sometimes.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's layering that diaphragmic voice and putting a falsetto bed over it.
yeah,
Sometimes, you want falsetto to get the soft, airy sound,
yeah.
or if you really want high pitched, powerful, you can go more from your diaphragm. If you want a style that is more, relaxed and stylized a certain way,
Hmm.
you can probably use like your chest voice or your throat
Hmm.
voice, that would give you put yourself in that mindset,
Yeah,
Also, it's not even just about the voice that you use, it's also the position of your mouth.
yeah.
It's like doing open mouth, closed mouth, smiling
Hmm.
or being serious. If
Hmm.
you're smiling or being serious, it comes out in the record.
Yeah.
A lot of times, I know an artist, this female rapper from Jamaica that I used to work with. When she's rapping, she's always smiling. And I
Hmm.
can close my eyes and I hear she's rapping and I can hear like she's smiling and I have to stop her and say, hey, I don't want you to smile. I want you to be serious. Because what you're singing about is very serious. So be mad at me right now, you know?
Hmm. Yeah,
And then she did and she went serious and she nailed it.
yeah.
So
I
it
like
a
that.
lot of those things contribute in addition to what voice you use
Mm-hmm.
is your mood, your
Yeah.
facial expression,
Yeah.
the smile on your face, the seriousness.
Yeah.
Opening your mouth, closing your mouth, fish mouth, all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I love that. And for me, when I was thinking about this project, I was talking with my advisor and I was like, for me, I don't uh, I don't necessarily think about whether I'm going to use chest voice, head voice, falsetto, etc. beforehand. It comes out naturally, and then later on I can think back to what I was singing and feel like, oh well, I delivered that in chest voice because I had to make a powerful statement and it had to be really grounded and it had to be very bold. And so I had to use chest voice for that. You know what I mean? And so I analyze it in those ways. But at the same time, when it comes to let's see, when it comes to the vocal arrangements like alto, soprano, etc., and which is actually the next question. um I come from a choir background. I was on the Dartmouth College gospel choir, and so I was an alto for some time and then I was a soprano. And so for me, it's like this communal aspect and it just reeks of community when you're doing vocal arrangement. Like even if it's just you in the booth and say we're in a session together and you say, okay, I want you to now sing this ooh, and you give me the alto, and then you give me the tenor, and then you give me the second soprano or the first soprano. It's my voice only, but it lends itself to the idea of community because you're all layered in singing together, supporting the same note energetically, harmonically. You know what I mean?
And sometimes, when you deliver, you have to just have a different mindset.
Yeah.
Like you have to think, okay, I'm a new person now. Let me sing this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Whenever I go into the booth and experiment, and I'm doing different parts, I just have different personas in my head.
Yeah.
All right, very interesting. Um, One thing I must add though to that is that as a singer who you're owning your craft and you're practicing every day, you're you're probably doing voice lessons or training, the different techniques. All of those techniques prepare you for the the chance that when you're in the studio and you're freestyling or trying to
Mm-hmm.
deliver, you just deliver what you want to naturally. You have that vocabulary of, techniques and styles that you're practicing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like being a footballer or being on a team or doing training.
Yeah.
You do all the necessary training and you get everything prepared, and when you go, you're playing the game, you just work at what comes,
Yeah.
and just have that fluidity in terms of, you know, your approach to creating and arranging. And then afterwards, you analyze it and you can say, okay, yeah, I did falsetto right there. I overlaid it with a chest voice.
Mm-hmm.
I shadowed it with a diaphragm voice,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that, you know? Right. My next question is, what kinds of meanings are created when you contribute to vocal arrangements by singing lead or adding harmonies?
Right. So that was part of what I was saying earlier
Hmm.
about the communal aspect that comes in when those things happen. And then part of it is like for me the meaning sometimes comes in like with the style of the sound. Like sometimes you can hit a harmony that's just like very jazz tinged or like very gospel. Um and for me, the style kind of speaks for itself when you come into certain like just like if you're adding like sevenths and ninths, that just like that's just so much jazz to me, or so much blues if you're doing certain like flats. Um, I can't remember which one it's flatted. Don't at me right now. But
I
it
mean,
signifies.
blues is stuff where you go flat seven.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
You wanna give it a little classical feel, add some augmented or diminished.
Yeah, look at you. That's
You know?
right. That's right. So, I think that's one of the meanings that are made from singing lead and adding to harmonies. Um, I feel like there could possibly be more as well, but it depends. I think too is like if you're trying to emphasize something or reinforce an idea. Like if you are coming back and like you're adding a double, like you will be in the studio, you'll say, all right, I want you to double that. Like,
Hmm.
okay, I want you to come back and do the ends. Okay, I want you to come back now and add harmony. Like it's an emphasis on the words and the message that creates a new meaning. Like I think of the songs that are about to come out that we're working on, and it's like it changes. Like the quality of the word literally changes when you add all those harmonies to it. It just becomes like magnified and electrified with the frequencies that you're using to sing.
Exactly, you know. And sometimes harmonies do that. The color create like an emotional space.
Yeah.
You started think it's sometimes you're even there singing the harmony and not realizing, you know. You play the
Yeah.
song 10 times, you're just singing the harmony alone. And then you start thinking about what you're singing because you're singing it so much, you know.
Yeah.
And when you actually speak things, you know, your body process what you're saying.
Yeah.
So it's very powerful, you know.
hmm
Cool. So I got a couple more questions for you, right?
Okay, ready.
Early background. What role did music play growing up?
Sure. So for me, music was what we played um at gatherings, when I was younger, my parents would take me to Glass House, when my uncle wasn't there, would always be playing music. Um, I remember at my grandparents' house in Bridgemount, there was a piano that we would play, and we learned how to play Mary Had a Little Lamb on it.
Hmm.
Just very, simple. Um, then when we left Jamaica and came to Miami at first, like it was, having the big speakers in the backyard of our aunt's house and like playing all the like reggae dancehall hits, and it was if for when it was in Jamaica, it was like excuse me, when it was in Miami, it was like preserving your Jamaican heritage by playing that music and coming together and holding the vibes together, holding a vibration. And uh
So
yeah,
would you say that the absence of not being in your native culture, you know, force you to actually, you know, play the music, have that around, and
hmm
that in a sense was you preserving
hmm
the culture for you
yeah,
whilst being here. And it also did a lot to influence and help you to grow musically in that direction,
hmm
along with the new influences that you have.
yeah, I do think so. I do think so. It was, it helped me remember who I was in this new place that was so foreign, that was like giving me all this culture shock in different ways. And at the same time, um, when I lived in Jamaica, we knew American music, of course, you know what I mean? And then to be surrounded by American music in the States was just a different feeling altogether. But it was like that lifeline that kept me connected to my roots and to my culture. Yeah,
Okay. Apologies for the phone call.
no worries.
All right. My next question is, what music do you remember your parents playing for you?
Okay. So I remember I remember certain songs, and then at the times I didn't know the names of the people, but now I know like Garnet Silk, Burris Hammond, Freddie McGregor, were some of the people, Tanya Stevens, uh, definitely Bob Marley, but these are some of the folks that my parents played for me. And then my mom loved like I remember when we were in the States, she had like certain like old school African American old school stuff that was like um
Like Nina Simone?
say it again.
Nina Simone?
Oh no, she didn't really play me Lena Simone, but those like doo-wop groups and those like old
Okay.
groups, like those old like groups of like four men and stuff. How did they call it? It was like
Like
it like I would
Temptations
pop
and
up, yeah, that kind of feel like um not the song that keeps jumping in my head is It Was Just My Imagination Running Away with Me. But
uh,
there are other
that's
songs
that's
like
Temptations, right?
It's just my imagination
Yeah.
running away with
Yeah,
me.
they did My Girl as well, and they
Hmm.
did Papa Was a Rolling Stone.
Yeah, there are a ton of them, but there were I
Not
remember
fun.
so okay, so there were these commercials that would sell you CDs back, in like early 2000s, and they would have like, oh, the best oldies from da 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 da. And so there's one CD that I just played to death that my mom got. And so we would play those together. Um yeah, but it was a lot. It was a lot of different type of musical styles that they would bring.
What about Celine Dion?
Of course, our honorary Jamaican Celine Dion. You can't go nowhere without thinking of her. I remember, you know who else for me was big? Cher. Yeah. Do you believe in
Yeah.
love, love?
But also you have Diana King.
Uh-huh. Diana King.
And
Michael Jackson came through too as my influences while I was still in Jamaica.
okay.
Hmm.
And you have the Supremes.
Hmm.
You had the I Trees.
Of course. I mean, the thing of it with for the eye trees, I in doing this project became more attuned to like knowing like who they were, who they sang with, how they had their own solo careers. I was less aware of them growing up. Like I didn't realize that that's who I'm listening to when I was listening to them.
Well, when you think about like the gospel artists like Grace Chillers and
Uh-huh,
Sandra Brooks
Well, I'm
or
less
Sister
familiar.
Scully.
I'm less familiar with the Jamaican gospel artists, but when I was growing up, my mom was a big like Donnie McClurkin fan, Fred Hammond fan,
Okay.
um, CC Winans, BB Winans. Those were huge because church was a huge part of our life. After like especially like in high school, church was a big part of our lives. We're in an apostolic Pentecostal church. And at one point I didn't listen to secular music at all. I would only listen to gospel and contemporary Christian
Well,
music. Mhm.
well, for me, like I can, if we're being woman centric, and in my experience growing up, definitely like Grace Chillers, Marvia Providence,
Mhm.
remember that big tune?
Mm-mm. You
That
gotta sing
Elephant
it
Man
for me.
remix, you took a bad man, you took a bad man, you know? But that her thing was so huge, that was good. Yeah, Sister Scully,
Hmm.
Sandra Brooks, all of those people were doing like gospel music that also had a we're talking about Jamaica.
Yeah.
I know that you probably migrated a bit, but me being in Jamaica, had a chance to see, you know, um, a lot of these play out,
Hmm.
and I can remember those women being very influential,
Yeah.
even much more. Their songs played in the dance hall.
Yeah.
That's how influential they are. Their songs played the early juggling, and so these selectors were crazy, to mix in the song
Yeah.
in the middle of a daggering section. Anyway, I mean, Jamaica is a funny place, I tell you.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, we're talking about you, but just adding to what you're saying
Of course.
in this discussion. Um, did you grow up going to any concerts?
So I only really remember in terms of when I was growing up young, is when I went to like the Hot 105, which is a radio station in Florida, South Florida. Hot 105, like Family Day, when they had live performances. That's like the main concert that I can remember. Um but yeah, I didn't like for the large part, I didn't really go to concerts really, especially because the age where like you would really go to a concert, um,
So
high school.
you never went to any dances or any street dances? You never snuck up?
No, I never snuck out. I was very much a little apostolic Pentecostal
Oh wow.
girl in my high school days. So I didn't have like, and plus I lived in a rural place. I lived in Auburndale, Florida for high school. We moved from South Florida up there in the middle of my freshman year. And so it was like even if I wanted to go to different concerts and stuff like that, I would have to magically have a car to take me there. Um and you know, drive to Tampa or drive to Orlando. And I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't listening to secular music, so I wasn't really going. And then I didn't really have the opportunity to go see gospel artists perform, you know what I mean? So I really didn't go to many of concerts growing up.
But so yeah, why I would mention gospel artists because growing up, gospel artists, I mean gospel concerts are probably easier for you to be exposed to than probably a secular concert.
Hmm.
Unless you're probably your family is a little bit more liberal
Hmm.
about that. Allow you,
Hmm.
okay, you can go see whatever you want.
Hmm.
But as Jamaicans, our families are not like that, right?
Hmm.
We very much like to put a lid on things. So, no, that's interesting. Um, in what ways did you study music?
Nice question. So when I was in high school in church, my so-called uncle, you know
Mhm.
how we have family members, extended family members who are like, "How are we related?" And then you find out years later they're just like your mom's friend. I had an uncle, Uncle Danny, who was like, "You know what? You can sing, Raquel. Let me teach you how to sing." So he would teach me. He would like teach me how to do vowels, and like he would like encourage me to sing for praise and worship, and like he would make me do lead in our our choir is a big word for what we were.
Hmm.
You know, it's a small church, but we would get together more of a praise team, you know what I'm saying? And so I would sing with them, and sometimes we would go to other churches and like sing. I remember we used to sing this song, Say the Name of Jesus, and we would sing that everywhere. Um, but then when I went to college, I joined Dartmouth College Gospel Choir, and that was we would learn songs by rote. So he would play what we were supposed to sing, and then
Hmm.
we would repeat it, and then we would be given the parts to listen to and like review. Um, and then when I was in my senior year, I did classical music. So I took a class for the entire year singing opera, and that was very interesting. And one of the things I did was sing a Leontine Price, is her name? Big time African American opera singer. I sang her version of He's King. Oh, yes. He's King. I'm trying to remember the name of the song. What a Mighty God? I think it was What a Mighty God, her version of that. And yeah, and so I studied that, and then now I'm a musicologist at UCLA. So I study music from a lot of different angles, history, um I remember I took a class about the chord changes of music, and because I don't know music like that in terms of being able to pick out the chord changes as I'm listening, I struggled so much in that class, but I ended up thankfully, that's my current advisor taught that class, and he was very flexible with me, so I was able to submit something like instead of taking the chord changes of a song for our final, I wrote a paper that like influenced what I am writing now for my dissertation.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Who were the first artists you remember admiring or imitating?
So share because what then that's like when I was tiny, you know what I mean? It's grade two type of thing. Um, I took her song and remixed it to talk about two little birdies who had fallen in love. Um, I was I was a big pop girl. So when I came to the United States, I liked Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys. Um, and then when I was in middle school, I really liked 3LW, and me and a couple. Well, first of all, when I was in grade two, I tried to start a singing group. When I was in middle school, I tried to start a singing group. I've been trying to start singing groups my whole life. Um, but we had um a group called RCA, Raquel, Christian, and Alyssa. And I was like, oh, I was so focused on like making music and like for them it was a hobby, but I really wanted to like go far in it. I was like, yeah, man, we're gonna be getting interviews and da da da. And they were like, Raquel, we're just hanging out and having fun, right? And I was like, oh, okay, I guess we are. But those were like things like 3LW and Cheetah Girls were like to me are influences for that. Um, yeah, a lot of we had a lot of I had a lot of experience like just looking up to these pop artists and like these R&B artists. I probably tried to imitate someone like an Alicia Keys, for instance, when her and Usher had that song My Boo. That was a huge song for us in middle school. Um, yeah, I could go on, but I know I'm looking at the time. We probably will have to do a part two of this interview.
Yeah. Um, do you want to cut right here now?
Yeah, why don't we? How about we say, listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to Jahmi Roc's Jottings. I appreciate you, Dale Dizzle Virgo, for being my interviewer and for turning this into a beautiful conversation. And we will pick up next time and finish up these questions that we've got.
I really enjoyed asking you the questions, and each question have my brain ticking, and really thinking deep about it. And I really love your knowledge and insight and your introspection into the deep details of everything.
Well, thank you. Thank
See
you.
why you're gonna be the doctor. So,
Yeah,
Dr. Jahmi Roc.
Dr. Jahmi Roc.
All right, bless up.
Bless up, bless up.